Welcome to 2023 Peace Education Day broadcast with a focus on empowering children and human rights. My name is Tucker Robbins, and I have the privilege of being here with Elvis N'Dansi. 5 years ago, Elvis and I met courtesy of World Connect, and he was in the middle of his Obama Fellowship. And I was thrilled to meet him because he is from an area of Cameroon that I have great affection for and have worked for over 25 years of empowering the people of that region of the Northwest. So honored to be here with you, Elvis.
Pleasure is mine, Tucker. It's a pleasure to be here today and to be part of the Global Peace Education Program, and which you are so passionate about. I was born and raised in a remote part of Cameroon called Misaje, and I was born and raised by a single mother. I saw firsthand what poverty and adversity is all about, growing up in a last mile community in Cameroon. My mom was a nurse aide, and I saw how she transformed our living room into a little clinic taking care of sick people in the neighborhood, and they called her doctor. At that time, I thought she was a medical doctor. I didn't know she didn't even qualify as a registered nurse, but the amount of work she did in the community, providing access to healthcare to women and children, inspired me, and that's why I grew up and decided to continue her legacy. So I did nursing, had a bachelor's degree in nursing. And coincidentally, my first deployment after my bachelor's degree at the age of 24 was in a very remote area, even more enclaved than the one I had grown up in. And so while working in this remote community called Bakassi in Cameroon, I saw firsthand how women and children struggle to have access to health care. In the health center where I worked, people will trek for long distances, like 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, just to access the health center to consult. And I was a witness of an event that changed my life, where a woman that had worked for more than 5 hours trying to bring her sick baby to the hospital, carrying the baby on her back, arrived at the health center when I was standing in front of the health center. As I reached out to help her to receive the baby from her back, seeing her sweating from the long journey, I realized the baby had died. She was carrying a dead baby without knowing. And I was really, really, really traumatized by that incident. And I promised myself I have to do something to reduce infant mortality. And that is when I started Unite for Health Foundation. I left Bakassi, started Unite for Health Foundation with a little box of medication and a single room, with the intention of how can I contribute to providing access to healthcare so people don't walk for long distances just to access healthcare. And that brought me to the concept of peace, Tucker. When we talk about peace, and you've maybe listened in some of the podcast or maybe a presentation I've done about peace, there is the internal peace and there is the peace that you have, the harmony you have with your environment. And so when there is social injustice, that some women and children don't have access to healthcare, that is a breach to the kind of peace which is supposed to exist in a community. And so I keep saying that in the work we do with Unite for Health Foundation, providing access to healthcare to underserved communities for women and children is part of contribution to peace building. Because when people have the basic amenities that they need, when they find support in the community that they need, that is an element of peace.
Thank you, Elvis. It's a beautiful story and a profound one. So you have undertaken a project called the Oku Project. Speak about this and its impact on the community.
If you go to Oku, which you are familiar with, you realize, first of all, it's an enclave community, bad road network to access that community. The people there are subsistence farmers, but you can imagine these people going for years without electricity, darkness in the night, children going to school, they've never had the opportunity to do their assignments because they don't have electricity. Women and children at night, maybe a child has a fever and there is no way to rush the child to the hospital because of darkness that surrounds the entire community. And together we designed the project, and we had the boxes, the Energy for Life boxes. In those boxes, you had a solar panel inside, you had a power bank, you even had a hand crank that could be used to charge a phone without connecting it to any power source, just a hand crank. And we had all this blood pressure machine, a thermometer. You can imagine what a thermometer means to a family. It can save a child that is sick of malaria and has high temperature at night. And so we're able to put all these things in a box. And from the time we enter Uku, with the fund of Uku, we had selected a few families who benefit from this project. And when we talk about a family, you remember in our conversation, we kept talking about the difference between a compound and a family. And we said, no, we're going to give it to compounds, because when you talk of compound in Uku, it's a grouping of families staying together in one land. You call it a compound. It's not just one home of 3 people. So we selected some compounds and distributed these boxes to them. And you could see from the 5-minute documentary what this means to these homes. Children were able to study and do their assignments at night. You know, the excitement of women sitting in the kitchen in the evening as a family with a bulb shining rather than being in darkness or just with some kerosene lamp. It meant a lot. And the training, we had to provide training on how to use the thermometer, on how to use a blood pressure machine. And guess what? We got feedback that people will come from different homes to come and use the blood pressure machine of those few homes that we had. That means that there was a spirit of sharing in the community. That was as a result of the Energy for Life project. Though the spirit of love that radiated in the community because of the Energy for Life project.
You have a formula. You have a technique of bringing together political, local leadership, international leadership to progress your ideas. Does this come from your experience at the Obama Foundation? Were you trained for this, or does it come from your mother, or where does it come?
You remember in Cameroon, I was involved in politics in a very early part of my life. And at some point in time, when I met President Obama, first in 2016 as a Mandela Washington Fellow, and secondly in 2018 as an Obama Scholar, one of the things he said that changed my thoughts about impact is when I asked a question about just how it takes to really navigate through the challenges of politics to become a leader. He said, Elvis, do not bother about who you want to become. Bother about the work and the impact that you want to create in the world. And that immediately changed my perspective about leadership. I'm more focused about what is it that I can do that can create more impact to the people that I care about most, not about who am I. It's not about what do I want to become anymore.
How can we empower children and help someone to understand the human rights that children have?
Yeah.
How can we do that?
The first fundamental right of a child is just the right to be alive. Most children around the world don't even have that fundamental right to be alive. What I mean is, if you can provide a child access to basic malaria tests and treatment, why should a child die before their first birthday for a basic medication that costs $2? Why should humanity be so selfish that I can eat pizza here and trash some, but somewhere in the world, a child lacks $3 to buy medication that can save the child's life from malaria? It's about that recognition that children are innocent. They have a right to life, which is the most fundamental right. That is why the right to healthcare is very important for children. If I were a politician, there's no reason why any parent should pay for a healthcare bill of any child under the age of 5. Globally, it should be a human right. It should be free. They are innocent. If they had access to raise money, they will pay for their bills. They will not choose to suffer any healthcare situation that puts their life at stake. That's the first thing, Tucker. The second thing is their right to education. They have the right to be educated. We have to groom their mind. They have to grow up to be educated children. So if you find children around the world that have no access to education, that's not fair. It's their right to nutrition. There's no reason why children should go to bed hungry. They didn't ask for anything. They are innocent. So the peace and empowerment that we need for children is that first recognition that they are innocent creatures that deserve the best from those of us that are already aware and conscious and capable and have the ability to help them strive.
Mm-hmm. And what can we teach children about their human rights? How do you do what you do with conflict raging around? How do you do that, Elvis, and maintain peace?
The most devastating thing that can happen to any community is when there is an armed conflict. When there is a conflict, everything goes wrong. You know, indiscriminate killing, and women and children are always the most affected wherever there is conflict. If you go to the regions where there are conflicts in the northwest and southwest region of Cameroon, you see women will leave their homes and they're running for safety. Sometimes they don't even know where their husbands are because either some of them have taken arms and gone to the bush, or some of them are afraid that they will be victims of being arrested. And so women and children are always left on their own. And so in this kind of situation, children suffer the most, women suffer the most. So I think conflict generally is not a good thing. And in our peace education, we try as much as possible to say for no reason should it degenerate to an armed conflict. If there is a way to fix it, let's fix it before it ever reaches that situation.
Speak to us about how you manage that exterior conflict with your own family, with your own extended family back home. How do you handle that?
Internal peace is a choice at some point where you have to make that decision, that conscious decision about your internal peace, despite the noise, the external noise that affects your internal peace. There were times, you agree with me, I could not sleep at night just thinking about the deaths, the people that were dying, innocent people, children. But at some point, I realized that I can only bother over things I can change. And I made the conscious decision not to allow those things affect my inner peace, else I would not have the ability to do something. And that consciousness brought to light something which is more about what is it that I can do to solve a problem, to help the people in the institution. Families and friends reach out sometimes just for money in order for them to buy food or for sometimes for their evacuation and all that. But at the end of the day, it's not about family and friends, it's about the people. What is it that you can do in your own ways to end the violence? At the very beginning of the conflict, I was very emotional and will criticize the government or criticize the secessionists, and I will write articles on Facebook and people will share them, and they say, this guy is very intelligent, and it will massage my ego to feel like I'm some renowned person and a trusted authority that people listen to. But when I got that consciousness of fixing things, I realized that was not the right way to fix things. The best way was to advocate for things that will bring an end to the conflict. And since I don't think that anyone enjoys conflict, even those who are in the bushes with their guns, they are not having a good life. I don't think that the military are having a good life as well. I don't think that the government is having a good life knowing that a part of the country is at stake. So it's everybody's problem. And based on that, everyone has to make an effort. Everyone has to make a conscious effort to end the conflict. I make my own conscious effort to be a peace advocate and also to be a development advocate and to do the things that can impact the life of the people in a little way, even if it's just one family at a time.
Elvis, what are the most important lessons that children could learn about peace education?
I think that children need to develop the skills of being able to show kindness. What does kindness mean? What does love mean? because when those things exist, they nurture peace. In every method that we can use, be it in demonstration or in the kinds of ways in which we make children understand what kindness is and what love is. And once children learn these skills and are able to show it to each other in their class, that a child can see another one falls on the ground and the child lifts that one, the sister up or the brother up, and show kindness when another child is crying and another child goes there and say, please don't cry. When that kind of harmony is being nurtured in an environment where children exist and they can learn these skills, be it from their teachers, be it from their peers, that skill of love and kindness is fundamental in peace education, because it is by those actions that they understand the value of humanity. Peace gets, we start losing peace when the value for humanity start decreasing in the minds of those who promote violence. But when you look at those who value humanity, peace always reigns within them. So children should be able to learn the skills of seeing the other child as themselves, seeing the other child with the same amount of love that they have for themselves, the humanity that children can grow with and love each other and show kindness to each other and be generous to each other. What else will we talk about peace if these values cannot be nurtured in these children as they grow? Peace should not be taught to them like a concept. Peace should be taught to them like actionable things that they can do that would promote peace. By doing that, it'll be easy for them to have their own internal peace when they grow up. It'll be easy for them to understand what their own internal peace looks like when they show this kindness to one another as they grow up.
Well, thank you for sharing your insights, your experiences that have led to a community of caring people